The best cow that don't get exported, they massage the cow every day, and once a week, they shampoo the cow. The entire cow. By 2060, the population will be half, and there's nothing to do about it. Right now, the average age, if you are in the rural area, is already 60. Just no one able to work. The average age of a rice farmer, it's upper 60. The average age of fisherman, it's upper 50.
Hey there, and thank you for tuning in. We're excited to bring you another great conversation today. If you like the show and want to support us, please hit the subscribe button so we can keep bringing you great content week after week. And if you're feeling extra generous, give this video a like and share your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you so much. And now, let's get into it. Welcome to Unpacking Japan. I'm Toby, and today we welcome Tony in the studios. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're a travel consultant and the co-founder of Yamatrips. People know you maybe from your social media channel, where you provide a lot of tips about hiking in the mountains, but also how to enjoy the countryside of Japan beyond where the general travel itineraries will take you. And we're going to talk about a lot of the sustainable tourism in Japan, the mountains of Japan, and much more. Very excited to have you. And as always, I want to start from the beginning of your story and what brought you here in the first place.
My parents brought me here actually when I was 5. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Chinese Canadian, so first time I came to Japan was from China. My parents were studying and working in Japan, and then there was a big earthquake, so we decided to relocate. But I just fell in love with Japan. So we moved to Canada afterwards, stayed there for 13, 14 years. I got my Canadian citizenship. So I'm Canadian, but I fell in love with Japan. So I came back. This was 2014. Yeah. At the time I was studying in university, I was studying statistics because that's what paid the most. And I have Asian parents, so it was all about, what occupation you get paid the most after you graduate. But I had no passion in statistics, so I love Japan. So actually, the first job in Japan, I was on the JIT program. Most of the JIT program is ALTs, people teaching in Japanese schools. In my case, I already spoke Japanese, so I was a CIR, coordinator for international relations. So I was placed in local government, and my job was to create sister cities, sister schools. So I did a lot of that in rural Japan, and that's why I fell in love with rural Japan.
You said a lot of super interesting things. I have a lot of questions already. I want to go back to when you came here when you were age 5. A lot of people that grow up outside of Japan and they get interested in Japan for different reasons. It could be like traditional culture related things like martial arts, cinema, others more for like the pop culture side of things. What did you fall in love with when you were growing up here as a foreigner at 5 years old?
The people, actually. When I first came to Japan, from raised in China, we see a lot of propaganda about Japan. So my first day in Japan, I had this very negative perception of Japanese people. But after the first year in school, in elementary school, every one of my classmates was so nice to me. In Japan, once a year, they play the national anthem. And they asked me if they can play the Japanese national anthem because I'm from China. I said, "Oh, just do it. I'm okay with, the Japanese national anthem." But there were just little things like that that were so nice to me. I didn't speak a single word of Japanese. So a lot of my schoolmates, they would be like very kind to me. They'd offer to teach me Japanese. Even though I couldn't communicate, they would come to play with me. I was like in the corner, not knowing what to do. And they would just take me and bring me outside to the playground and play dodgeball. Yeah, so the people are so kind. That's what, I guess later in the years, when I was like 9, 10, I started liking anime, Pokemon. I was watching Dragon Ball Z, practicing Kamehameha at home. Yeah, so I guess later in the years, it's similar to everyone else, falling in love with anime and other Japanese IPs.
Must be quite an experience, kind of moving countries at age 5. And it's not only just you move from one city to the next. It's like suddenly you lose your language, you lose everything. And to be welcomed like that is kind of a unique experience. And so you came back. And you came back on the JET program, but on this lesser known path of working as a correspondent. And you mentioned your role was to kind of create sister cities, sister partnerships for Mie Prefecture. How was that experience for you?
It was very interesting because I didn't know about Mie until I got my acceptance letter. And it said Mie Prefecture. I had no idea what Mie Prefecture was. So as a JET program, you can actually make up to 3, I guess, suggestions as to like, which area you want to be placed. My first placement, I wanted to be placed in Tokyo. The second was Osaka. The third was Nagoya. But then they placed me in this place that I had no idea where it was. And they just said, this place is right in the middle of all 3. It's actually pretty close to Nagoya. So first time, so before I moved to Mie, I was skeptical. I thought maybe I'll only last a year, at most 2 years. But I ended up staying for 4, actually 4.5. The JET program ends after 5 years. So pretty much I stayed till the end.
That's really cool. Where in Mie? Were you directly like Mie City or?
I was right in the center. Mie has Matsusaka beef. I was in the beef town.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was 5-minute walk from Matsusaka town. But my placement itself was the town next door where they have a lot of farmlands. They have Matsusaka farm as well. They have a lot of tea farm, rice farms. It's called Taki town with about 15,000 people.
What was it like the day you arrived?
Oh, once again, the people are so nice. I think 3-4 of them came to greet me from the station. The first night, they just took me to Sushiro. I told them ahead of time I like sushi, so they took me to conveyor belt sushi. The next day, they took me to this restaurant called Ishobin. It's a Masaka beef restaurant. And my manager, I guess, paid for everything. And he said, he actually took me out to a lot of different places on the weekends or at night. It's for him, it's like it's not even work, right? But because you're so kind to me, it was lovely. The people are so lovely.
And then you start having to make connection between this city and surrounding areas with like countries overseas. How does that actually work? Because I remember growing up and every town in France also has like this city is a sister city of this city in this country. But I have no idea, how does this work? Do you just email the other city and be like, hey, let's make a partnership and connect our schools and connect things? Or what do you have to actually do, practically speaking?
So in my case, for Taki town, we had Sharp factory. We had a Sharp factory.
The electronic maker. Yeah.
Yeah, and they funded the project. There's a Sharp factory in Taki, and then there's a Sharp factory in Kansas City, Washington State, USA. So Sharp actually coordinated the first exchange. They connected our schools to our town, to the Kansas City Center. And then from there, it's like, okay, Tony, now you do the rest. Over the past 4 or 5 years, like while I was there, right, we had 5 or 6 different, delegations coming back and forth. Another project, it was for high schools. This with the Kansas City, it was mostly for middle schools. So middle school students get to experience what it's like to be raised or to live or to be educated in a different country. Yeah. This other one was high school. So high school in Taki, they were really good at culinary.
Oh.
Yeah. And each year we would attend this culinary competition in Australia. So there we got to know a lot of different other schools. And then we decided, why don't we do, exchange programs between our schools? So our culinary students, you guys come to Japan, we teach you Japanese cuisine, and our students go to your town, and then you teach us your cuisine.
That's really cool.
We had it with Australia, had it with Taiwan. Yeah. We also had lots of restaurants because Mie is all about food. Right. So we had this town in San Sebastian City in Spain. Yeah, and they have lots of restaurants with Michelin stars. So we would exchange information. And then now in Taki Town, there's actually a Michelin star restaurant from San Sebastian City.
Really? I'll have to stop by this town then. That sounds very exciting. So you get all these international exchange with a super small locality. You said 15,000.
15,000, yeah.
It's pretty impressive that these things are possible on kind of the local scale. How does it impact then the communities when you're there and suddenly you have a small municipality that has contacts and exchange with cities in Australia, cities in Spain, cities in the US?
The purpose is to give the local people, right, the local students, while they're kids, a bigger dream, or give them vision. A lot of the time when you're stuck in a rural destination, so I get this from I talk to a lot of different LTs in the area, and we have this common issue where kids raised in the countryside, they have very little ambition, right? Because countryside Japan is actually very peaceful. Nothing happens, but nothing needs to happen. Every day there's like mountain, there's a river, there's food everywhere. It's very peaceful. However, times are changing. So there's lots of globalization is coming, right? It's coming, it's already here. Lots of, we've moved to the city, right? People speak different languages, multiple languages. There's a lot of opportunity, and parents, they want their kids to have ambitions, to have dreams, to want to explore the world, to see different people, to be able to interact with different people. So that's the purpose of sister schools, sister cities. Actually, tourism is actually also part of that. Tourism is only a means of achieving that.
So kind of ignites the fire inside the children. And it seems like a lot of this is aimed at the children and the next generation, not necessarily the people that are already kind of in activity. You worked on this for a few years. You said the JET program has its limited due date. So you eventually had to move on from there. Did you think for a second, or maybe I'll just stay in Mie and continue doing this by myself? Or were you like, this was great, but I want to try something new?
Very good question. Yes, there was a moment. This was 2018. At the time, there was this family. They don't speak English, so I think they'll anyways, there's this family, and they wanted me to marry their daughter. Pretty much just, marry into the family in rural Japan, in Mie. And they were quite wealthy, right? They had a business where a lot of their products were sold overseas. So there was a dilemma, a big decision. Do I just settle, or do I try to see a different side of Japan, Tokyo? Because when I first came to Japan, I was in the Kansai area. I was in Osaka and Hyogo. And now I'm in rural Japan, but I've never been to Tokyo. Tokyo is the biggest city. It's a land of opportunity for Japan. So at the time I was 28. I think right now I'm 35. If this decision was put to the table again, I'm 35, I'll probably just marry and just stay in rural Japan. But I was 28. I still had ambition. So I decided to move to Tokyo. So I started job hunting. There's no job in rural Japan at the time. Now there's more. 2018, there weren't many opportunities. I was using LinkedIn. I was using Recruito. I was looking at all these bilingual job sites. 99% were in Tokyo. Yeah. So pretty much naturally, I just found a job in Tokyo.
That's kind of a big thing. Maybe your partner at the time, and you kind of decide, no, I'm not ready to settle yet, and move on. So you moved to Tokyo, the big city, and you ended up working, I think, in tech.
Line, yeah.
That's another big group. You go from the rural countryside and kind of connecting people to working for one of the biggest tech companies here in Japan. Did you enjoy it?
Loved it. Line was amazing. Now the company merged into a Japanese company. It's part of SoftBank now, but before it was part of Naver. It was a global company with stakeholder from US. And the mission back then, it was, we had to attract lots of engineers so we could build a bigger platform. It was Line's biggest communication platform in Japan. And we needed to expand on tech, right? Back then, we wanted to do fintech, we wanted to do AI. So I was brought in pretty much to build this global image of a company where working for Line is amazing. So 50% was about recruiting. The other 50%, it was about connecting the headquarters in Japan to our other markets. We had a pretty sizable market in Thailand, Taiwan, Indonesia, and the other headquarters in Korea.
Okay. So kind of like a HR, suddenly global HR position, making the company attractive to talent. Very far away from the countryside. Suddenly you kind of catapulted into this international tech race with AI development and such words that probably never came up much in your conversation in rural Japan, where everything is peaceful.
That's actually, you pretty much, well, the reason why I chose tech company, it was 2017, the year before I made the big decision to move. Me and my group of friends from the university, I was from University of Waterloo. We met up in Honolulu. And then, there was 8 of us. I was the only one from Japan. Everyone else they live in the West Coast. And our conversation, it was Tesla, Elon Musk, Bitcoin. I haven't heard those 3 words since I moved to Japan. So I felt like left out. I felt like, what just happened? Like for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been living in rural Japan and I'm so disconnected from the world. And that kind of like shook me. Right? It made me realize that, okay, I maybe it's time to move to Tokyo. Maybe it's time to join a tech company so that I'm once again, seeing like what's in the horizon. Like basically I needed to move to an environment where we get to decide how the world, which direction the world changes. I don't know. It's pretty much I just felt left out living in rural Japan. So I had to make that big change.
So you met your friends in Honolulu and you had this shock of like, oh, I'm kind of completely out of the loop with what they're dealing with. And if we fast forward a few years, you make the decision to stop working in this tech environment to actually go back to supporting rural communities. What was the second shock that kind of made you pivot again away from these big tech companies?
I think it's the fact that when I was employed by Line, afterwards I was also employed by Mujirushi. So it's a Ryohin Keikaku, another Japanese company with a global presence. It felt like we were in this saturated market. And I didn't feel like there was people who were actually in need of. So Line is a messaging platform. It doesn't matter what we add to that platform. The core service is messaging. Right now, you can do payments. You can, of course, the stamps. You can do you can send gifts. But at the core, it's a messaging platform. Whatever we add to it, it felt like it was excessive, right? So I started looking, and Muji as well. We already have so many things in this world. I didn't feel like releasing new products into the world made a difference. So then I looked back into myself and I, said, what is it, that I know about Japan that there's real demand where people are actually struggling, or, there's a change to be made to make the lives of people better. And it was in rural Japan.
Tell me about Yamatrips. That's a company that you have now officially established, but I think it kind of unofficially started a little bit before that with an idea. At what point in your career did you start kind of getting involved in doing something about this urge to help the people in these areas?
Yamatrips, Yama means mountain. Japan is 75% mountain. I think it was the third most in country in the world covered by mountains, 75%. So Yamatrips is not just about going to the mountains, but it's about exploring the entire Japan, right? So the whole idea, it was that if people only visit the, other 25%, which is the city, they say the Golden Route, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, there's only so much to be made, and everything there is saturated. All the opportunity, I don't say all, but most opportunities are saturated.
Not so golden anymore.
Not so golden anymore. Yeah. Everything else around them, there are a lot of hidden gems. And looking for these hidden gems, it was very interesting to me, because when I was in Tokyo, when I moved to Tokyo, every weekend, I wanted to move out. I wanted to get out of Tokyo. It was just too much. Everything's too much information, too much people, too much noise, too much, advertisement everywhere. And everything was up close, right? So I wanted to just be in the nature where I can see far away, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, be in the nature. So every weekend while I was in Tokyo, I would drive somewhere into the rural areas, do some hiking, see the view, see a different side of Japan. And I did that for many, many years. And after so many years, I decided maybe this can become a business. But at the start, I wanted to become a hiking guide, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At the start, I wanted to become a hiking guide. But the more I got to know rural Japan, the more I realized that the demand, it was not in the mountains, but rather in the people who live in the area.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. So that it tied back to bringing tourism to those people, to connect with the locals.
What was the moment you decided, like, I'm doing this, I'm establishing the Kabushiki Gaisha, I'm quitting my job at Muji, and I'm all in?
That's another very good question. There was a defining moment. So while I was working at Muji, this is 2022.
So in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, it was middle of COVID. Everyone's doing SNS, social media. So I said, okay, why don't I start making some videos on Instagram? I did that for 1 year. I got to maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 followers. It wasn't going anywhere. So after 1 year, I got my permanent residence. This is 2023. The moment I got my residence card, I told my boss, sorry, I got my residence card. I'm going to quit now. I'm going to start my own business. But I had no business plan. The only thing I knew was that I have maybe 1,000 followers now, and I know how to make videos now. But I didn't know how to grow anything. So I decided to visit my friends in the West Coast, because some of them work for Google, some of them work for Meta. So I decided to stay with them for about a week, just absorb everything I can from them. And they told me a lot of hints. They gave me, tips and everything. I came back to Japan. And in the following 2 months, I want to say, I got to 30,000 followers.
That's pretty quick growth.
Yeah. And it took off from there. Yeah.
So the original idea was promotion through social media, but it very quickly evolved into more than just making videos and social media. Did you then start thinking of like a business plan, like a business model that you wanted to build Yamatrips around? You said the original idea, thing that made you think about this was wanting to be a tour guide, but realizing people are less interested in the mountains and more interested in the people living in those kind of mountains. Yeah. So what kind of was this business idea that came up when you started getting a following?
This is, I want to say, how many months? 4 months into my journey after getting, past the 10,000 mark. I decided to reconnect with Mie, with people who I used to work with. And I came back to them and I said, hey, look, I have all these followers now. Maybe I can help you guys make some videos. But they weren't interested. because they had no idea what, some of them use social media, but they don't know what influencers are. They don't know what the value of social media is, how it ties to promotions or how it could help with their business. So at that point I said, you know what? I don't need to make videos for you guys. Why don't I teach you guys about marketing on social media? So I started doing that, and they were interested about that because in rural Japan, they have all these local ambassadors, these people living there some of them are say artists, some of them are like I guess locally famous people, and their job is to grow awareness, let people know about their region, what's so beautiful about their place. There was like a Masaka beef ambassador. So those people, they wanted to grow their social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, why don't I do some marketing lessons for you guys? And I did that, and they loved it. The people there loved it. Now they're like, oh wow, we have no idea that Instagram had all these tools to help with visibility into our region. And my first client was actually one of the students who came to my marketing class. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you said something very interesting there. You said that when you had a following and an audience and you offered, like, why don't I come to me and promote you guys? You're like, why do you want to do this? What are you going to do? Not interested. But when you offered, why don't I teach you how to promote yourself? They're like, okay, I'll have a listen. Can you explain a little bit more what you noticed in these kind of different mindsets, and why the people were more interested in kind of learning how to do it themselves rather than having a quote unquote influencer content creator just coming in and making a video and then leaving again?
It's a good and bad of the rural side of living like a town, right? It's people there are very connected, but at the same time protective. So they don't just want some outsider coming in and start talking about their place. Yeah. So when I try to do that, they're they leave us alone. Like you probably don't know about us well enough to talk about, what we have here. When I first, moved to the area, it actually took me 3 years before I felt like the locals trusted me. Like they were kind, so they would, take me around to places. They would give me bags of rice, but then they would never have a conversation with me where they say, "Oh, recently I had this terrible something happened. I need someone to talk to." That only happened after the third or the fourth year, right? So it's hard to get people to open up, and it's really hard to gain their trust. So as an outsider saying, okay, actually, I have all these followers, I can help you, it didn't resonate. But then when I said, why don't we do this together? I'll lead you, I'll show you how it's done. And at the end of the day, you're the one in control.
So then you realized there is an interest from those rural communities in learning how to self-promote themselves, because they want to be in control of the narrative that goes out and highlight the things that they are really proud of. And you got your first client. Was it then just kind of like a natural, and suddenly other communities, other local municipalities started reaching out and be like, hey, can you come to our town as well and teach us how to do the same?
Exactly. So my first client was, they sold Matsuga beef tours. So they worked with a local Matsuga beef cattle farmer. And they wanted people to actually visit Matsusaka to try the Matsuga beef. Not just Tokyo, right? You can find Matsuga beef everywhere. So you can probably find them in the States. You can probably find them in Canada. You can find them in Tokyo, in Osaka. But it tastes different.
No, because it's not as fresh anymore.
The freshness, and also they don't export the best cow.
Oh, well, they're right to keep the best for themselves.
Exactly. So they actually have to come. But no one knows about this, right? Nobody knows that's the situation, right? So that's why that got me to do this whole marketing, storytelling, right? So I spent 3 days with a cattle farmer. I showed how much care they put into taking the care of the cow. The best cow that don't get exported, they massage the cow every day.
So that's true.
It's true. Yeah, every day. And once a week, they shampoo the cow, the entire cow, right? And they're happy. The cows are happy. You can tell they're happy because they're wagging their tail. They're licking. That you can see the tongue move. That it means they're happy. Yeah. And I showed that side of that side of Masaka beef, right? So then people, I guess, got to see how that there's this different grade. Mm-hmm. So we call the tour Beyond A5 because it's like an A6 grade. I mean, actually got a lot of people to come to these tours, right? So had this successful case study, and now I have this successful case. Now what I do in Mie, I also promote Kumano Kodo. Mm-hmm. I also promote ama divers. They catch shellfish. Tuna. We have tuna in Mie. So all different kinds of food, and also a shrine. But it all came from this one successful
case study.
Yeah.
And now you kind of travel across Japan, and you've got many, I was going to say countries, but not countries, cities and communities that you're having seminars with and kind of sharing now your many case studies. Mm-hmm. What have you noticed are the common points and the common challenges these communities are facing and how they want to solve them?
Lack of talent, I guess. Yeah. A lot of
By
the time,
talent, you mean lack of people that are kind of available or able to make the promotion for them?
Bilinguals, I guess. Yeah. There are a lot of places where there are hidden gems, but there's no one on the ground because my job is to come in and show them how it's done. You can leverage my knowledge. I can help you guys with teach you how to promote your area. But if they don't speak English, if they're not, into that, then there's nothing to be done. So a lot of the times, we travel to these rural areas. Most recently, July, I was in Kiryu. Kiryu, there's a city of silk. It's silk making in Japan, right? And they wanted me to create this tour for them to bring people from Tokyo. They can go on a day trip. It's 2-hour train ride from Asakusa to Kiryu Station, and from there you can rent a bike, or you can, take a bus to all these different silk making factories, workshops, right? But no one speaks English. So it's like, okay, you come to the station and there's no English sign anywhere. There's, the bicycle rental, it's only in Japanese. You have to have a Japanese address to register. There's no one taking you around. The silk factory, they're very kind, but you need to be able to speak English in order to lead the workshop, right? So there are a lot of places like this. So the only places that I'm actually able to help are people who actually speak English on the ground. And that's the whole purpose of having these sister schools, sister city experiences for kids, is so that on the ground, there are bilingual talents.
So people want to promote themselves. They have interesting things to promote, but they don't have anyone to do the promotion. And you're actually only able to help if there's someone that stays there and can continue doing the work, because just doing a workshop and then leaving also is pointless. It brings up a little bit the question of the rural revitalization. I think it's widely discussed in Japan, and the government kind of pushing for people to relocate to the countryside, and you kind of helping people to kind of promote those areas. But it's also a bit controversial at times. Is it sustainable? Is it not? What have you learned from your experience kind of talking with the municipalities? What do they want? Who do they want to come to the countryside?
The central government, the reason why they want to, disperse people from just the cities is for the, one of the primary reason is resilience towards disaster. We have the, Nankaicho earthquake coming. We don't know when, but when there's a disaster, people are, if you're all, clustered in that area, there's no one to help, right? If something happened, say in Kyushu, Tokyo can come help, right? But then if Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, they're all affected, which is the case for the next, the Nankaicho, the big one, then they'll need rural Japan to come support, the cities, right? To rebuild Japan. But right now, the local economy is too weak, right? So that's one of the biggest reasons why the central government want rural Japan to have more to offer, more strong local economy. Now, on the local side, the difficult part is that every area in rural Japan, let's say Mie Prefecture, right? I was living in Taki Town. And then next door, there's a place called Meiwa Town. Next door, there's Odai Town. Every town they see themselves as rivals. So we don't work together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like local competition for, okay.
Exactly. So if everyone in this one area as a Mie work together, we can create something cool. We can invite big companies to build factories. We can do a lot of things, but the resources are divided. And this happened because back then when Japan was booming, right? We had, the baby boomer in 1950, 1960s, the economy was growing. There's a lot of people. So they have many regions like towns, cities, but also like villages, right? And now they're, combining themselves into bigger area. And the thing is, you can't keep everything, right? I think there's a analysis, like a forecast by 2060, the population will be halved. And there's nothing to do about it because right now the average age, if you are in the rural area, is already 60. So they're going to be 70, they're going to be 80. There's just no one able to work.
You mean the population of the rural areas will be declining by half?
Yeah.
Not all of Japan.
Not all of Japan, but
okay.
I'm just saying like overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's because people are so old now, right? Yeah. So in 5 years, the average age of a rice farmer, it's upper 60. The average age of fisherman is upper 50. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be a big challenge.
Yeah.
So they want to try to get people out of the cities for all of reasons, but are people moving to those rural areas, bringing those skills, bringing this talent to also then kind of help make this more attractive?
I would say it's very difficult. When it comes to tourism, right? Not every area are accepting other ideas, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is also the case for, like, say, United States, right? The coast, the West Coast, maybe the East Coast, there's more, how should I say, international. There's more, immigration, but there are places in the States where there's like very little, immigrations. Similarly, in Japan, a lot of the rural sides, there's no foreigner living there, right? And that's because the locals they don't really want different ideas. They don't really want other people coming in. They're okay with slowly disappearing into nothingness. They don't want to change it. They're not looking to pass down whatever they have in their region.
So they have a lifestyle that they enjoy, which is peaceful, and they just want to enjoy it as much as they can without changing it.
Yeah. So for those places, leave them as they are, right? But there are places where people on the ground, they are ambitious. Like, oh, we want more people moving to our place. Look at the fish that we can catch in our side of the ocean. There's all this fish. There's so much opportunity, right? Those are the towns where I want to help. And the central government, each year, there's lots of different types of subsidies. And one of the tourism subsidy is about, I want to say, 50, 60 億 a year. So what is that? Like
a few billion yen.
A few billion yen a year, yeah, to help these places. Now, what needs to be done is each town, there's also tourism boards, they can write a proposal to the central government, say, this year we plan to make this happen.
Okay.
This is how much money we need. And the central government says, I like your idea. I don't like your idea. I like your idea. Your idea is pretty good, but maybe it needs a little bit of revamp. Come back next year. Okay, here's money. Now try to make it happen. So that's the situation. 3 years ago, this is right after COVID, right? The rate of acceptance was over 50%. So if there's two people said, okay, we want money from the central government, we want to make this happen, you pretty much almost got it. Now it's under 20% because everyone's saying, oh, I want it too.
Just free money. They assume it's free money. And then suddenly the government's like, wait a second, we have to dial back a little bit. Where is this money actually going?
Yeah. So it's evolving, right? The first couple of years is like, if you ask for it, we'll give it to you. Now, after 3-4 years, they're looking for results. What did you do 3 years ago with that money? Is it actually working? Right. So now for the next couple of years, it's gonna. Now you see the winners and the losers from the ones who said, okay, we're gonna try this proposal, we're gonna try this, want to try that. We're gonna say build a new port, or we're gonna build we'll get a new ship to have like a fishing boat that people can fish, right? Some of the places that actually did well, some of the places they just wanted the money and nothing changed. So the way I see it is that maybe in 3-4 years, you'll see clear winners and losers. And the clear winners, people are actually going there, having a good time. The losers, they're unable to attract anyone into their area.
So people will go to some areas that are successful, and those will both be maybe people relocating, but also you touched upon the topic of tourism. You're a travel consultant, so you're dealing a lot with that tourism. And I think one of the huge debates at the moment is the question of over-tourism. You talked about the golden kind of route, Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka, which is facing like big challenges now with too many people going to the exact same place. How do those local rural areas develop their sightseeing opportunities and their local tourism without ending up becoming like unsustainable and overcrowded, and the locals kind of being driven out of the areas?
So the trick to who the central government assists, like what kind of proposal are accepted, it's in that. So the average spending, the central government, they're interested in the average spending, right? So you create this plan to get people to come to the area. How much are they spending, right? The proposal has to encourage spending, staying at hotels, using the local transportation, souvenirs, eating at restaurants. So that's how they do it. So people who are able to spend this amount of money, right? They only want attract people who are able to, say, be part of a tour. Doesn't have to be all tours, right? But say we're building a new hotel. We want to make sure people who come to this area actually able to stay there, not just pass by, just take some photos and move to the next place, right?
We had a guest last week who was promoting, she worked in this rural revitalization program in Bizen in Okayama Prefecture. And one of the things she said was, it's important that there is no photo spot, because then people will just stop and come for the photo and kind of leave. And what's important is that the people kind of go and experience the local community and go to the local shops and go to the local makers. But how does that remain sustainable? So the government looks at the numbers and they're like, okay, well, you need to bring in money to the local economy. So if the people on average on a 2-day trip to this area spend 20,000 yen per person, that's good. If it's less, it's not good. But what about the local economy? Because if suddenly you have a big hotel, if suddenly you have a shopping street that is overrun by tourists, what happens to the local community?
It's a difficult. It's. I would say it's very, it's very tricky, right? Right before this interview, but right before me coming here today, until yesterday, I was in this town called Wazuka.
The tea town in South Kyoto.
Yeah, and there's this beautiful photo spot. And of course, I took photos there. We flew our drone, and that's going to be one of the key visuals. But the experience we're creating is actually staying with the farmers, learning to pick the green tea leaves, learning to grind it, to mill it into fine matcha powders, eating. Actually, the tea leaves can be eaten actually. So like try eating the tea leaves, figuring out, experiencing the tea culture, with the tea farmers from a local angle. And the people there, they're quite accepting of new people coming, because what's been happening is that the traditional tea farmers, many of them are actually going bankrupt. Those who are unwilling to change. I think 5 years ago, there was a matcha boom. I'm not sure which year, but
it was just in the news recently that there's not enough matcha to keep up with demand, actually.
Yeah. The reason is that the old matcha farmers, the old tea farmers, they're not willing to learn how to make matcha. Right? You grow the same plant, but midway you have to start diverse. You have to, when you turn it into matcha, you have to turn it into first sencha. Sorry, not sencha. I forgot the name of it. But it's a different process. You have to cover it with, to cover it away from the sunshine midway. There's a different process of making. And the old matcha farmers, the old green tea farmers are not willing to change.
They just want to do the traditional tea. They don't want to adjust how much sunlight the plants get so that you can use the tea in a different way.
So they're going bankrupt. Now you need to bring in new tea farmers, young people who are saying, okay, you know what? This is where the demand is. I'm going to start farming, matcha tea. You do need those people. And I also stayed with this restaurant in Wazuka, and they moved there, I think just 3-4 years ago, right after, right around COVID. And they saw an opportunity because they were the only cha soba, the tea soba, right? They add the tea leaves into soba, and then they deep fry the tea leaves into tempura, because there's no business there that served green tea soba, right? And the locals are very happy to have that restaurant there, right? Because it's the future, because the farmers were there, their entire lives, who are unwilling to shift to the new changing worlds. They're slowly. So basically, if you do nothing, if you don't make any change, they'll just slowly die out.
But some of them are happy to do that.
Yeah, some are happy to do that. Yeah. And now with overcrowding, right? The only solution that I see is just to have enough of those places. For example, Wazuka is tea, but there's not just tea in Japan, right? There's there's like mushroom. There's a place where it's all mushrooms. There's a place where it's like maguro, so tuna. There's a place where it's like amasang, shellfish. There's a town with silk, right? Gunma silk town. There's lots of pottery town. So the more diversity you have, the more we can disperse people, right?
But then you still need to kind of convince the tourists to go there and keep it somewhat manageable. So that brings us back a little bit to Yamatrips,
Yeah.
the company you kind of then established and you started from scratch. You started seeing those opportunities with a lot of local communities wanting to promote themselves. You started being faced with the challenges of they have a lack of talent, of skills in these communities, problems with tourism and over-tourism, how to manage this. How did Yamatrips evolve over those years?
Initially, it was not a business. It was an influencer. Me just going to places, making videos about those places. And then that beef project happened, right? It started, I started doing more and more, I should say, lessons for the local towns. Each town has something called a kanko kyokai, basically this association that manages all the local business in the area, and they bring in different speakers so that to help with growing local business, right? So now I pretty much go to different places and asking me to talk about tourism projects. For example, how are this town in Mie, how are they making it work? How about this other place in Hokkaido? Right now, this year, I'm working with 15 different rural towns and cities, right? There's successful case studies, there's unsuccessful case studies. So talk about them, and then people are saying, okay, why don't we can actually learn from this? Why don't we try what was successful with Masaka beef? This one particular project, this is also in Mie, but on the coastal side, it's pearl farming. So pearl farming in Japan, it was booming back then, maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago. It was booming. And now it's getting a second wind, right? But it's no longer about selling the pearls themselves. It's more about the experience, learning about how pearl making, what goes behind making pearls, what goes behind the pearl divers, the people who are, diving without any gear, right? Free divers. So now we have, when you move to Mie, to that area, it's called Iseshima. You'll be able to experience diving with these people. They're called pearl divers, also Amasan. You can also visit their hut, Ama hut, and you can enjoy, having a conversation, and then they'll cook the seafood in front of you. So there's lots of experiences.
So with your company, basically, you are now connecting all these municipalities and sharing case studies, what worked, what didn't work. You mentioned interesting case studies of things that didn't work and that people also want to learn from. Can you give an example of an initiative for driving tourism that actually didn't really lead to the desired results?
Yeah, there are for every successful project, maybe there's 2 or 3 that didn't work. Let me think of a good example, because there are just so many.
But that's the side of the story that people don't really see, right? It's like, oh, this town is not very popular, and this other town is not very popular. And I feel like from a foreign perspective, maybe that usually happens through social media. If some content goes viral, suddenly everyone wants to go and see this. But the reality on the ground might be quite different.
I don't want to say it's like it didn't work. I want to say it's like a work in progress. So right now I'm working with this town in Meiwa town. This place is also in Mie, in the Meiwa area. And last year they got the government subsidy, and they wanted to revitalize this shrine. It's a very important local shrine. It's one of the smaller shrines surrounding the Ise Grind Shrine. Because there's a lot of significance. Right. From a local perspective, there's a lot of significance. The tour they created was that you guys come to our shrine. You can have you can experience a day of shrine priestess or shrine priestess. You're cleaning the shrine. You're, making food and an offering to the goddess. You are wearing the white robe. You're say writing like what do you call it, 고슈잉, right? But it didn't sell. They created this whole thing, but it didn't sell. That after 1 year, maybe they sold like one ticket or something. Yeah.
After 1 year, they sold one ticket.
1 year, one customer.
Wow.
Yeah. So they came to me and like, okay, this is not working, right? Well, how do we year two, what do we do? So once again, we came up with a proposal. So this time, Yamatrips, we entered as a consultant, and then together we got the subsidy again. And this time, what we did is we focused on what people wanted, right? Focused on what travelers wanted. And we decided that it was 고슈잉. Making the 고슈잉 was what people liked, especially those who are coming to Mie to go to the Ise Grand Shrine. Chances are they're interested in collecting the stamps, right? The 고슈잉, right, stamps. And so this year we're working with the local artists in the area to make unique 고슈잉 for each month. Very beautiful, right? We said, okay, people love cherry blossoms, so why don't we add cherry blossom to the gosuing? Why don't we make it colorful? And instead of just getting that stamp, you can also have like a workshop with the local artists to make your own gosuing together. So now we don't know if it'll sell, but later this month I'll be going to that shrine, and we'll be doing lots of filming, lots of promotion. We'll probably put it on Get Your Guide, Viator. In Japan, we have something called Activity Japan, all these platforms, and we'll give it a second go.
Did you think that you'd be kind of where you are today with your company when you started this? Now, basically, being the connecting point between the platform that connects a lot of these rural communities with the international tourism, which with these major promotional platforms that you just managed, like Get Your Guide and so on. Was this kind of something you envisioned, something you hoped for, or did this just come as a whole surprise and now you're discovering it every day, basically?
I started from, hiking, right? Mountains. Because I love love hiking. Yama means mountain, right? But now, actually listening to the people, hearing, their concerns, or like what their challenges, the struggles, like that shrine, right? They want to protect their shrine, but they have no idea how to. Like, they just made this tour that they thought, it's so cool. You get to learn about what it's like to live as a priestess or a priest, but no one cares about that, right? People care about making beautiful gosuin stickers. Yeah. So it's this perspective, right? Giving the locals a perspective of what the tourists actually want, right? And it helps maybe by this project, maybe next year we'll have a lot of people visiting that shrine, and that shrine will be recognized again. The locals will be super happy, right? With the Masaga beef farmer, they were very happy. Like, they were super happy it's not just about getting people to their area so that the local economy, so that they can sell more beef, right? They were happy because their effort were being recognized, right? The farmer, massaging the cow every day, shampooing the cow once a week, putting all this care, right? The work's being finally recognized, and that the value, right? The value of Wagyu, like, why is Matsuga beef so expensive? Now it's justified, right? So that work is very much, in my mind, like, that's the drive, that's a core mission of Yamatrips, right? Is to actually showcase, the value of rural Japan. Right?
With all the time that you now spend working with these communities and such, how much time do you still have to go into the mountains?
Right after this interview, I go back to Tokyo, and after that, I'm having 2 days hiding in the mountains and doing waterfall hikes, and that I have no client there, right? But then after that, the next 2 days I'll be in the mountains in Hokkaido and have a client there. So I want to say 50%.
So still a lot of these communities are in the mountains.
Yeah.
A lot of the examples we talked about today, Mie, it's more close to the coast. Wazuka is in the basin of Kyoto. But you still get to spend a lot of time in the mountains.
And yeah, it's not all climb, right? I love hiking. That's the core, right? That's my passion. So I try to keep a balance, 50%, hobby, 50% actual, promotion.
You originally wanted to be a guide and taking people into the mountains. Now you're not, but you still enjoy them. Where would you take people today if you had to recommend them on a mountain trip?
Actually, this October, I have won it's like 6 days travel with Tony kind of thing, where we're first going around Mount Fuji and then Yatsugatake. So Mount Fuji, everybody knows. So you start with something people know. Oh, Mount Fuji, yay! And then Yatsugatake is a place that nobody knows. It's a hidden forest. And then we do the Japan Alps. Some people know, some people don't. But it's very, very beautiful. The whole, Yatsugatake side, it's deep forest, Mount Fuji, and Japan Alps. It's high up there. There's lots of hot springs. We're doing a hot spring trail for Japan Alps.
It's like every day you go for a long hike and you arrive at the onsen in the end.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. So yeah, Japan Alps, in my mind, is the one place that people should visit more.
Yeah. Any favorite hike that you kind of don't get tired of doing again and again?
So have you heard of the Tateyama Kurobe Alpine route? People take this on Instagram, you often see the snow corridor.
Oh yeah, in Toyama, right?
Yeah. But it's not that. That's the entrance. That's the entrance to the hiking point. The hiking point, you go up to the top, 2,400 meters. There's a place called Murodo. It's a Murodo Plains, right? From the plains, on the plain, 2,400 meters, there's 3-4 hotels. Some of them are mountain huts. There's campsites. The huts have hot springs. They're actually the highest hot spring in Japan.
Oh, cool.
And around it is these mountains just in all direction. There's about 10 different trails you can take. Some of them are very, very scary. Some of them are like 2-3 days of walking, but it's like really beautiful flower fields. You go into the middle of nowhere. The sky is like starry sky, is really beautiful. Yeah, start from Murodo. I've been to that area maybe like 10 times now. Yeah.
You brought up something interesting though, because you mentioned you see it often on social media, this snow corridor. And yes, that's true. It comes up every single year as a recommendation when winter comes around. And that's what people see, and that's where people want to go. But just behind that, you've got all these trails, and nobody really knows about those. But also on the other hand, the snow corridor, you just kind of drive through or walk through and it's fine. But similar spots, similar mountaintops might be advertised like, oh, you can get this really cool photo from Mount Fuji from here. And suddenly a lot of people want to hike up there. But actually some of these hikes are tricky. They require equipment, they require preparation, they require a little bit of awareness of where you're actually going to. And what's going on in the news a lot recently is, especially with the example of Mount Fuji, people kind of going up unprepared. But other mountains have similar problems at fewer scales. With you spending 50% of your time out there in the mountains, what do people need to know before going for a hike and to be aware of, to be careful of, and how to prepare?
That's actually a good point. So my company, we're actually becoming the official partner of National Parks of Japan by the end of the year.
Wow, congratulations.
And the proposal that thank you. It's a big achievement. The proposal that I made with the National Parks of Japan is that we're going to help you guys deliver that message, safety protocols, how to, like what kind of, gears you need. Japan, and depending on the location, depending on the season, it's very different, right? The same mountain can look very different. The same trail will be very different. So how to prepare for that? Every month, what it's like in January, February, March, April, which hikes you can do. Not all the hike, Japan Alps, you can only hike most of the Japan Alps trail between July and October. And even October, some of the trail become very, very snowy, right? So all this information, we're going to be talking to the National Parks of Japan to figure out, what kind of message that they want to get through and what be the means of that.
Yeah, there's a lot to know. And social media is often disturbing a little bit the perception of what's what. And then we end up with incidents with people needing to be rescued and so on. So working with national park, that's a really big achievement. And how do you envision this change with now more and more tourists coming, the government wanting to still double the number of tourists in the next 3 years? The problems are already increasing. What needs to happen for this to become more sustainable, for the mountains to remain a safe space and also protected? These are national parks. It's often forgotten. They need to stay clean. They need to stay as they are. What needs to happen for this tourist boom to stay sustainable, for the mountains to remain as they are?
Let's do one quick example. Like what's happening on the ground. Mount Fuji, right? We already know Mount Fuji it's becoming unsustainable. It's already unsustainable, right? So now they started charging fees, 4,000 yen this year, I think. Last year was 2,000. It's gonna continue to go up, and that's one way. Now let's look at the more recent location that wasn't so crowded, but now it is, and that's Kamikochi.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Right? In the case of Kamikochi, last year, there was this huge subsidy from the central government to control the situation. Right? People coming into Kamikochi, everyone who comes to Kamikochi, there are things that they should know. There are campsites in Kamikochi, many campsites, but the rules of camping in Japan is different. Kamikochi has bears. There's like littering. People don't swimming in the river. So there's lots of these little things and there's lots of trails from Kamikochi. Which ones are dangerous? Which ones are beginner friendly? Right? And they spend this budget. I don't know how much it was to make a 1 hour long movie documentary.
Educational. This is what you should know about Kamikochi before you start hiking. Yeah. And
the last time I checked, it had maybe like 200 views.
So that video was just posted on YouTube, and nobody's actually kind of watching it in a room before going out there. Okay.
Exactly. So what needs to happen is that this money needs to be spent wisely, right? Instead of spending all this budget on this very high end. They probably had lots of cameramen, lots of editing, but very little knowledge of how to get that message out there, right? If it was me, right, I would probably made maybe like 10-15 minute video and just placed it in Arupiko bus. So Arupiko bus, they're the bus that take you from say the stations into Kamikochi, because Kamikochi no cars allowed, right? And there's also taxi, right? I probably just made like 10-15 minute video and post and have them displayed on these either taxi or buses to Kamikochi, because you have to watch it pretty much, right? So a lot of the time there's money. There are people who want to to do the right thing, but they just don't know how, right? So this year, I'm actually make the proposal to Kamikochi this year through a big company, but we didn't get the proposal. But next year we'll try again. Yeah, at some point they'll be like, "Yo, Yamatrips, why don't you guys give us, the idea how we can get this message out there?"
So this is, I guess, where the role of your company Yamatrips is kind of set. To remain as this connecting point, because as we started our conversation, a lot of these rural communities, they don't really know. They're maybe a bit more disconnected. They don't really know how the tourists or the people from the cities maybe interact with their local area. And the other way around too, the people coming to those local areas don't know how to interact with the locals, and you're kind of connecting both. Not only on the people-to-people basis, but also like government to government. The central government may not know exactly what the local government needs, and the local government may not know exactly how to get central government support for their ideas. A lot of work for you out there.
A lot
of work. Your company has grown. Has your team grown too?
Yeah, recently I've been working with a few other, people who started from influencer work.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. They already know, how to make contents, right? But a lot of it is the business side. How do you talk to the policymakers? How do you talk to say the people on the ground, right? So I'm training, I want to say two people so that I can become, my right hand, my left hand. And the other thing is I'm based in Shibuya right now, and in this incubation center. So within the incubation center, there are a lot of, very young, ambitious, entrepreneurs, right? So right now I'm trying to connect with them as well. Japan is huge. There's so many municipalities. There's so many, right? So many cities, so many towns, so many rurals. There's no way I can help everyone. So the most I can do is, have more people who share this vision of Yamatrips, right?
Well, we'll see a lot more from you soon, a lot more content, and hopefully a lot more interesting recommendations. For people that watch you, always hopefully they'll keep in mind to be respectful of the areas they go to and mindful of the local kind of regulations in area. We covered a lot of ground in our conversation so far. Do you feel like there's an important topic that we didn't touch upon that maybe you would have liked to bring up? Something that I should have asked that I've maybe have forgotten?
I use the word hidden gem in a different context than most people, right?
Okay.
I think I brought it up earlier in this interview. I said hidden gem. Have you heard of the story of Pearl?
The pearl from Mie Prefecture, how that kind of became popular? No.
Yeah. So 400 years ago, people didn't know what pearls were, or pearls didn't exist back then. They existed, but they were more like dust. They were more seen as dust, right? 400 years ago, the Chinese emperor sent emissaries to look for this undying cure. It's like, I guess a potion of immortality, right? So emissary from China came to Japan. They were looking everywhere, and they found this area where we had, Akoya shellfish, and inside there were little, pearl-like things. It's like a stone. We turned that into a medicine. We basically grind it and into powder, fine powder that you can drink. And we said this is the immortality, because there's a lot of calcium, there's a lot of good thing. It's like the energy of the ocean, right? It's like salt, right? And then that gave value to pearl. So until then, it was this hidden gem was hidden. Now it became a gem in the form of medicine. 150 years ago, Queen Elizabeth was seen wearing pearl necklace, and then people from Europe came to Japan and said, "Whoa, look, you guys have all these Akoya shellfish that can make pearl. Why don't we need you guys to turn them into big pearls?" So people in the area, there were three men who created the first man-made pearl, so farm pearl that actually looked round. Until then, the pearls weren't round; they were natural, so different shapes. So now they're able to actually turn this hidden gem into real gem pearl, right? And this, pearl is sold for a lot, right? And now it's actually a real gem, right? So that's the hidden gem that I see in various parts of Japan. Like matcha was very much a hidden gem 10 years ago, right? But now it's of so much value, right? There's more than just matcha and pearl. I travel around a lot. I talk to lots of craftsmen. I talk to people like farmers, fishermen, and I find just gems everywhere. There's lots of hidden gems, and I think there's so much value in like this. If you can just find a way to sell them, to market it to the global audience, we can definitely find the next pearl, the next matcha. Just one example. There's a tea, or there's a mushroom tea. It's called saru no koshikake. In Japan, people stop drinking it, right? But farmers, the mushroom farmers, they know how to make it, right? When you look it up in English, we call it reishi. It's sold in the States. It's sold in China as a miracle cure. It's so expensive. There's real demand for reishi. But most of the reishi right now, they come from China. There's very little supply from Japan. But unknown to the world, there's lots of mushroom farmers who in Japan, they know how to grow them. They just don't sell them because no one in Japan enjoys them.
And they don't think about the global connection.
Exactly.
A lot of hidden gems in Japan. Tony, thank you so much for showing us some of them, for showing us the potential, but also discussing a little bit all the kind of challenges with sustainability and local tourism. I hope this was interesting for many of our listeners. We will make sure to put your contact information in the description if they have more questions, if they want to follow along your journey. And we'll be seeing a lot more of your collaborations with national parks and more coming up soon. And maybe you'll be the ambassador for Kamikochi next year. Excited for that. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us in Osaka, for making time. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. This was Unpacking Japan, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future conversations. And we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this episode, here are a couple more that we think you'll enjoy. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you next time.